Hello, it is I, your internet friend, Robert Gadarian. Today we're going to talk about building a virtual machine from scratch, just so you can see what some of the things are and can conceptualize some of the things that happen. I'm using UTM, it's Universal Turing Machine. This is a front end to QEMU, which is an open source virtual machine suite. All of these concepts are the same for VirtualBox or VMware. I'll probably do one of these on VMware too, just because if you're a U of M student, you have free access to it. U of M computer science students specifically. But all of them are fairly the same. Demo, style, generic, sure. System, you can choose which architecture you want. Amazingly, QEMU lets us choose between a whole bunch of different things, which is really cool. I'm going to say ARM64 because that's actually the same processor that I have on my Mac because I have a Silicon Mac, which is secretly an ARM chip. I could use x86, which is a normal processor. That's probably what you would want to do in general. x86 64, meaning that it's the 64-bit version of x86. It's actually a terrible name, and I don't want to talk about it. How much memory do you have? This is how much RAM the system would have. Give it a gig or more. This is going to affect your system's performance. I have 16 gigs of RAM, so I'm happy enough to give it 2 gigs, 3 gigs, and it's not going to affect my performance too badly. But 1 gig should be enough for most purposes. If you're doing stuff with NPM, it gets really big very quickly. So you might want to consider more there. Debugging drives. We do have to give it a storage drive, hard drive, if you will. And you can do it as a bunch of different things. I'm going to make it an NVMe. Why not? That's the fancy new interface for fast stuff. IDE or SCSI would work, or as would... I don't see it. Interesting. Nor flash. Very cool. Don't use floppy. That's stupid. So I'm going to say NVMe. Sure. Size. 10 gigs. It's a bit cheap. This, for most of these tools, is going to be flexible. Where it's going to say you have a 100 gigabyte hard drive. And then it'll actually kind of shrink it down. So it's going to be whatever size of stuff you've stored plus a few gigs, which isn't too bad. Even then, 100 gigs. I mean, know how much space you have because this can fill up your hard drive. There we go. This is a disk image. So this is pretending to be a disk. That's good. And I'm going to note boot order as listed. That's important to us right now. I need to add a new drive to pretend that it has a floppy drive, or not a floppy drive, USB drive. So I'm going to, oh, no, that's not what I want. It's removable. I can just drag this up. No, I bump it up with this. There you go. I want to have an ISO image, and like I say, that's on USB, and that's fine. This is going to be my disk that I'm going to use for install media, which is very important. Display doesn't really matter. Usually, depends on how fancy you are. Network, shared network is fine. I talked about this a little bit in the primer. This will probably work as a NAT behind my machine and not paired with my machine, which is fine. So it'll be a private network, but I can still get to the internet using my computer as a gateway. And I can set up sharing of folders right away, but I'm not going to because QEMU is actually really bad at that. All right, so demos here. And where is my, there we go. Here's my CD drive. And I happen to have an ARM64 version of Debian right here, which is great. And I'm going to hit play. And notice that I put this first in the boot order. So that means that it's going to boot off that first, and it doesn't work. Cool. Apparently there's a bug in this. So what I just had to do was mess with the boot order. So it actually sees this first and then goes to my removable drive. There's nothing that popped up in here. That's interesting. That's maybe because I've already booted it once. There's an EFI. Otherwise, same setting. You can see from the time, not much has changed. And now this one is just boot. So it's going to look at my blank hard drive and check some errors, which are probably normal. And then it's into I'm going to use the graphical installer. The installer for Debian. Debian's my Linux of choice. I don't know why. It's one of the first ones I was introduced to. Ubuntu was built off of it and has since then diverged quite far. And that's fine. I'm not going to fault it for that. Okay, my cursor doesn't seem to work. That's fine. American English. I speak American English. And this will be just a normal installer, which is pretty neat. I'm not going to go through the whole thing live for you. The most interesting thing is that it's going to discover the network, and then I'll have to tell it which drive to use and how to partition it. And a lot of people haven't set up Linux. With Debian, it's nice. You can just say, use dumb mode. You can go into the full, like, hey, I want to do it this exact way and partition all these things out. Because some people like to have the /usr partition separate than the /home partition, which is separate than a source. Sometimes people have source in a different partition, so they can actually just wipe out the drive and then rebuild it. And those are for people who are constantly rebuilding their operating system to the. This is why my other VM is Debian. Yes, cursor still doesn't work. You can see my cursor, but that's not the cursor in the. Oh, there's a cursor in the machine. I don't know. I'm gonna tab over to it. Spacebar. Domain name. Nope. Don't really care. Oops. There we go. Oh, my head's in the way of the corner. Okay. I'll get out of my own way here. Root password. Keep this super secret. I'm going to call it sh-es. Whoa. That's the worst root password I've ever set in my life. Let's see if it complains. Wow. New for the user. I'm going to call my user Rob because that's who I am. And sure. Password. sh-es. 2, totally different. And then over to continue. I'm happy. I am not in Eastern. I'm in Central. Though I do was in North America. I guess I told it that I was in Canada, so I shouldn't be too surprised by that. Guided use entire disk. You can go the full manual. Don't do that unless you want to learn something, which is good. This is one of the safe places you can do this. And it's going to do it on the whole drive. And you can see that it's an NVMe drive, which is good. And all files in one partition. And the separate home partition is actually something lots of people do. And some people will set no executable on that drive because you can actually have drive permissions too, which is very cool. And that means that people can't download something and run it from their home folder. You probably don't want to do that for yourself. Finish and writing partitions disk. I want to continue on that. And save changes, yes. There you go. And then it's doing the partition. This is the net install, so it's going to actually download a whole bunch of things for me, and then we'll install those normal things. It's going to ask me a bunch of questions like, do you want to do bug reports? Do you want to do the popularity report, which I never do because I'm a little bit too tinfoil hat for that. But overall, it's pretty good. I might pause here because you probably don't care about this unpacking and unzipping a whole bunch of stuff. I'll catch up to you in a moment. There we go. I'm going to just install all of Linux in front of you because why not? Do I want to have media for, what is this? For the package manager. So any packages that I want it to install for me. The answer is no, I don't have these locally. And then it'll ask me if it wants to just download them and where I should download them from. And I really like downloading them from Waterloo because I think it's cool that their computer science club has a mirror for this. It doesn't really matter which one you pull from. And HTTP proxy means, like, is there anything in between you and the internet that it needs to know about? It doesn't. So you can just skip that. And it'll configure aptitude, which is the package manager. And then it'll start downloading. I think it'll ask me what I want to install, which is cool. But I'm going to pause it for now because this takes a little while because I actually don't know what it's doing. Oh, it's refreshing. it pulls down a metadata list of all of the possible packages, which can take some time. Ooh. 11 minutes to 48 seconds. Gotta love that. I'll be back in a sec. And I'm back. Here's the popularity contest that I I alluded to earlier. No, thanks. Just it's silly. Now it's going to ask me what I want to install. This is important if you want to have a desktop environment, which you can install after the fact. You can install all of this stuff after the fact. It's just asking you if you want it to do it for you. It's a good idea. GNOME is a bit heavy in terms of graphics. It's gotten a little bit too much recently. GNOME Flashback is basically one of the, if you still want GNOME, which is actually very nice windowing manager, so it looks like Windows. Xoffice is good, or that's what I call it. And do you want a web server? It installs Apache for you. You do want an SSH server if you're doing this stuff, and standard system utilities is always useful. I'm not actually sure what is all included in there, because I've always installed it, because I am a pretty standard guy when it comes to installing a standard operating system. This is going to take some time. I'm going to tell you a lot more than 1 minute. So I'm going to save you time and let you take the short way there. Okay, install complete. Let's see if my cursor works after this. I sure hope so. It'll probably automatically boot back into the Debian installer, but we'll see. Oh no! Oh, okay, no, this is good. I can take out that removable media or emulated removable media. I said a stupid password, right? CS2. There we go. And now I have a virtual machine, which may or may not even have a cursor working. No, it's okay. UTM's a bit funny when it comes to cursors and stuff. Oh, there we go. It's in. So it's an operating system, the whole thing. There's actually some really good games built in. Not here. Dang. But yeah, to play around with it. I would really. It used to be really cool to have Linux as your primary desktop. These days, that's a bit much. There's no real good reason for that. But it's still nice to have. If I want to SSH into it, IP-ADDR, right there. That's my IP address. I'm going to get my terminal. Oh, I'll have to get it to loose. Oh, it's got my cursor and I don't know how to get it out. That would have been a good thing to check before I got it in there. I can't even pause. Oh no. Usually it's one of the control buttons. I don't know. I have to edit this video. No. This is embarrassing. UTM release cursor. Oh boy. Find. Capture mouse. How do you uncapture mouse? Control Option. There we go. I'm going to leave that in because it's really embarrassing. But that is how you, this one, some of them, if you just cursor out, it'll actually free you. This one doesn't. But that's okay. I'm not too mad about that. I think there's some accessibility stuff that'll let us change that if you wanted to. And I already forgot the IP address. That's great. Oh, and now it's actually working properly. That's interesting. Okay, so let's open up a terminal. And I'll use this one. That's fine. I'll make it a little bit bigger because I know it's pretty hard to see. This is in a virtual machine already. SSH Rob at 172.16.94.4. Okay. This is a normal thing that'll pop up saying, I've never seen this machine before. And there's a fingerprint. It's a cryptographic fingerprint. If it changes, something nasty might be happening is what it says. And that's fine. CS2. And I'm in. I don't think I have sudo installed. I might. CS. Oops. I'm not. But I'm not in the sudoers file. Check out the server maintenance thing to talk about sudoers because that's where that lives. But all in all, I hope you enjoyed this somewhat longer install process, and it has my cursor again. And I hope you're having a nice day. I'll talk to you next.